Nickey, can you give us your thoughts on how Limerick performed yesterday, and is there any way back for Cork this year?
Limerick were awesome yesterday. I think the one thing that's in relation to Limerick that's very evident is that their clear physical power, their work rate, and their ability to create space around the field is pretty outrageous. And Cork are just not a team that has their work rate up to the level that's needed to beat the likes of a Limerick or even a Waterford at that matter. And they're going to have to reflect big time on that. I'm not so sure about Cork. I think the other thing is in the physicality stakes, Limerick were just awesome. I mean, when Limerick wanted to break, their physical strength brought them through tackles at, I won't say easily, but they got through tackles. Cork were trying to work the ball from the back, and a lot of their players are just of a stature that they just weren't able to break through the initial player that was coming to them, and then they were just swarmed by the Limerick players and coughed up possession. And I mean, some of the scores that Limerick got, including goals, came about because they just were not able to be physically strong enough to cope with what was coming from the opposition. And look at Limerick, we knew what they were capable of. They clearly targeted the championship this year in the sense that, look, they'll use the league as a preparation and also to kind of get players to clear up their injuries and all that sort of stuff. And they're very much back in control of their own destiny now at this stage.
Do you see any weakness in this Limerick team? Any way that anyone else can sort of get at them this year?
The only way you can handle Limerick, I believe, and maybe it's clutching at straws, is you have to physically play man on man and try and work each individual player. I know it's a long time ago, but when Kilkenny last beat Limerick in the championship there, that famous day, there was a bit of controversy about it. One of the main reasons Kilkenny won that is that in the one-to-one battles, Kilkenny did very, very well. And they just made sure, if you take Jimmy Burns yesterday, so Jason had the freedom of Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I mean, a wing back, he was outstanding yesterday, and a wing back shouldn't be allowed that type of freedom to be able to move into space. You have to, if you're going to have a tactical sort of match where you're looking for short puck outs and you're looking for all this sort of what I'm calling tippy tappy stuff, the consequences are is that the opposition will outsmart you. If there's a team like Limerick, will create that space and we'll get scores with pretty consummate ease. And a lot of the Limerick scores yesterday simply were far too easy at inter-county level, and Cork will need serious reflection on that. Now, this notion of man-to-man marking in Limerick is easier said than done. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that it's easy, but it's the only chance you have. You have to have faith in your team to be able to take on the guy you're marking and making sure that he's nullified to the maximum possible extent. It won't succeed all the time. You can't with a great team like Limerick, but that's what teams will have to do. And it will be interesting next Sunday to see how Waterford cope with that, in the sense, what way will they deploy to make sure that Limerick don't have the freedom? Because bear in mind that Waterford will be playing on a bigger field next week, and that's going to stretch them. Now, I believe Liam Cal will want to win that match because there's nothing like continuing to be successful. But tactically, we'll see, will Waterford be able to cope with, we know now what Limerick are going to do. We know the way they're going to set up. And we know that he has a decent depth in the squad at this stage, which is something he's been doing. And bear in mind, yesterday he brought on Cathal O'Neill, which means he's gone from the under-20s. Now, that happened in a couple of games the weekend. So he's been working on fellas like O'Neill to make sure he's a strong squad member and an option should he need him.